Welcome back to Girls Unfiltered.
Hi, welcome back.
I'm Megan.
And I'm Emma.
And today on the podcast, we have a special guest. We've got Sarah Doyle on the podcast. Hello, Sarah, how are you?
Hello, how are you?
We're good. So, Sarah is a life coach and an author, motivational speaker. Sarah, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Oh, God, I
hate that.
Yeah.
My favorite color is pink, and I like that. I'm a life coach. I've been coaching now for close to 10 years, so I've been doing it a long time.
Yeah.
I've been running my business, the Better Life Project, for close to 6. My job is to help people, but I work with mostly women, like 97% women, to achieve their goals whilst developing their confidence and self-esteem at the same time. I do a lot of speaking, I do a lot of private coaching, I do a lot of training and workshops. I published a journal called Be Your Own Best Friend. I make a lot of affirmations. Yeah, the journal's pretty cool. It's old now, and that's all that I have left. So
amazing.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that was cool. One of the hardest things I've ever done, having to self-publish. So I don't know if I recommend it. And then I'm a mom to my beautiful son Billy. I'm wife to James, and I'm a sister to Emma Doyle and Kate Doyle, which I said. Yeah.
Oh, that's
what a lot of people thinking my sister set up a podcast.
It's too common. Like, it's literally the most common name there is.
Yeah.
There's so many.
I used to live next to about 4 or 5 different Sarah Doyles when I was growing up.
Oh, really? Yeah. Yeah, I actually know Sarah Doyle as well. At least one, I think. Just is what it is. Yeah.
Such a common name.
Yeah.
So that's kind of me in a nutshell. I love my job. It's really hard, but I adore it.
Yeah.
And couldn't ever imagine that I would do anything other than coaching, to be honest. I kind of feel like I'm one of those lucky people that has found her dream career.
Yeah. Brilliant.
Fantastic introduction. I suppose before we get into it, someone asked us what actually is a life coach, and it's something that we didn't even think that we'd have to explain. We just thought, oh, everyone knows what a life coach is. What is it that you actually do? How would you describe it?
Yeah, so a life coach is an individual who will work with you to support you gain clarity on your goals and help you create a new life path. So the difference between coaching and what often it is confused with therapy is that a coach is primarily looking at the future, and a therapist is going to mostly be looking into your past and helping you resolve any emotional difficulties, help you create solutions to any sort of emotional challenges or problems that you might face. A coach is the person that you want to work with if you lack clarity, if you feel stuck, if you want to be able to elevate your life, enhance certain qualities, set goals, achieve goals, feel awesome, that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So coaching is a future-focused, action-orientated process that supports people to achieve goals.
Okay.
Yeah. It's so cool. I make it sound really clinical sometimes.
No, it makes a lot of sense.
I'm sounding too nerdy.
You're not at all. We love it. We're loving it.
It's kind of hard to explain. Like, I was trying to think about it when I saw that question. I was like, it just kind of is what it is to me. Like, it just is someone who helps coach you with your life, and it's hard to fully explain it unless you're you, if you get me.
Yeah,
hard for us to explain.
So I've been doing it for so long now that I've really enjoyed watching the industry grow, and whilst I'm always really happy to explain my job, when I first started coaching about 10 years ago, people hadn't a clue about what anything to do with what I did. So I always said at that time, and I continue to say it at this time as well, I'm like a personal trainer for your brain. So I just help you exercise your brain muscles, and I just help you set goals. It's going to change for every single person. Like, no one client that I work with is the same. our goals are different and how we get there is different. But if you're looking at creating some change in your life, a coach is a really helpful person to support you create that change.
Yeah.
Brilliant. How did you get into coaching?
I had no idea what it was. I thought I had wanted to do something like therapy or psychology. At the time, I was working in Trinity College as a research assistant. So my background, my academic background is in international development. I did a master's in human rights in Thailand. Before that, I did my bachelor's of arts and politics and philosophy. So like I was sitting there with about 500 other students and I hadn't a clue what was going on. Like I was sitting there going, have I even spelt politics correctly? Like what am I doing here? But I got through it anyway by the skin of my teeth. But I really loved human rights. I absolutely felt incredibly passionate about trying to make some sort of contribution to what I felt were these overwhelming global injustices. So I pursued a master's in human rights in Thailand, came back, recession, no work, got a job in Eason's bookstore. I was there for about 6 months and then I was made redundant from there. But I had interviewed for the job in Trinity and I was very, very grateful that I got that job.
Yeah.
And I thought that was supposed to be it for me. I thought that I had found what I was going to do for the rest of my life. I had turned my passion into a job and I got a secure and a safe job, and a job that if I wanted to, I could probably have stayed there until I retired at 60 or 70.
Yeah.
But I just felt this pull of an unfulfilled ambition and I couldn't shake it. I couldn't let it go. I couldn't stop thinking about being that person that just inspired people and motivated people and worked really closely with women to help them feel better about themselves, because I struggled a huge amount when I was growing up and I still struggle.
Yeah.
I just know how to help myself more today than I did 10 years ago. So I was talking to one of my colleagues in Trinity at the time, and she was a therapist, and I was asking her about her work. And I was saying, oh, you know, that sounds like what I want to do. And she goes, really, Sarah, are you sure it sounds like what you want to do is coaching? And it's the first time that I'd ever heard someone say the word coaching in relation to me and my life. And I did a little bit of research and straight away I just knew it was for me. I signed up for a diploma. 10 months later I qualified, and I kind of stopped coaching for a while because work got pretty crazy. But then I eventually reached a point where I just knew I had to leave Trinity to work full-time in the Better Life Project. So I did in 2014 and I haven't looked back since. I just have these moments of coaching, speaking, just doing my thing, and I just go, this is what I'm supposed to do. And I've worked my ass off to get here, so
Yeah.
I'm gonna enjoy saying that I deserve to be here, because it's not easy at all. But I'm really enjoying it and I don't take it for granted.
Brilliant. So important to find, like, so many people do just end up in whatever stable kind of job that they end up getting, and they're too terrified to just jump and do what makes them happy. And I feel like that's, I would guess that a lot of people would love to have a life coach to help them through jumping into a career like that, because for most people it's scary and they just feel like it's not doable.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
Making any sort of change in life, whether or not it's breaking up with your boyfriend, whether or not it's deciding that you want to feel healthier or more confident, or you're sick and tired of not liking the way that you look in the mirror, or the big one for me at the moment is imposter syndrome, so I do a lot of work there. But yeah, like a coach, the right coach, and a qualified and experienced coach, it can be such a huge source of support for anyone who is struggling. And I just wish that more people, and I get, this is why conversations like this are so helpful, because we get to show people what coaching is and how it can help them, because it really can help a lot of people. I really, really believe in coaching in what I do. So to be honest, half the time I don't care if it's me that you see, as long as you see someone, because it's just that great.
Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned there that you, when you were younger, you struggled a bit. So now, having had all your experience, what advice would you give to your younger self?
I've thought about this question before because I've been asked it so many times because it's just such a poignant question. I'd tell her that it's going to be okay, but I'd be too nervous that I might alter the direction of my life, and I wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah.
I had like everything from an eating disorder to a miscarriage to broken hearts. Like it's led me to where I am right now, and it's
Yeah.
given me, not always the best relationship with my body, but an appreciation for my body that I never ever thought that I would have.
Yeah.
25 years of age, staring down the freaking toilet again, never actually thought that I'd be able to look at my body and just say thank you, and look at my body and say I love you because of what you do, and I never ever thought that I would be able to do that.
Yeah.
I never thought that after one of the most heartbreaking times of my life, losing my first baby to miscarriage, that I'd ever look and go thank you because you gave me my son, and I couldn't imagine a world without Billy. So I'd like to say something to her that just makes her feel like she's okay and that it will be okay, but I'd always be nervous that I'd say something and then she'd do something different, and I just don't want my life to be different. I really like the way that it is now.
Yeah, that's such, I don't think most people would think of it like that, but it makes so much sense, because if we don't have the things that we go through and all the different, like obviously bad things happen and or we make mistakes and whatever, but if we don't have those bad things or mistakes, then we don't actually often end up where we are. It's like, what's that movie called? And is it like about time or something? And
Is it Click?
I don't know. No, I don't think so. But it's like he can go back and change time, and
Is it Rachel McAdams?
Yes. Yeah, I
Oh,
think
God.
it's about time or something similar, like something to. It has time in the name.
Yeah,
but
I think I know where you're going. I think
and he goes back in time, and then he ends up coming back to the present, and he has a completely different child. Like he has a little boy instead of a little girl. So tiny things can change if you didn't do every little thing the same. Like big things could be different, if you get me.
No,
Hard to explain, but
no,
like
but it makes
everything can happen.
yeah. So I would love to look. I would love, I'd give my 16-year-old self a massive hug and just tell her it's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And I think to me that's probably the most comforting thing. I would just tell her that it's going to be okay. And I would find that really reassuring. And part of the reason why I started to do the work that I did when I first became a coach, I wanted to work primarily with young girls, and I'm very lucky that there's an opportunity for me to do that in the future, but I just wanted to work with young girls around body image and self-esteem, because that's where I really struggled with. Like there was no one in the media who looked the way that I looked when I was growing up. No one. When I was growing up, it was all about Kate Moss. If it was all about Kim Kardashian when I was growing up, I would have been sorted. But no, it needed to be turned sideways and disappear. And I didn't have that body type, but my friends and my friends and my sisters did. So I really struggled trying to embrace who I was. So I just needed someone who looked like me to say, you're going to be okay. That would have just been incredibly reassuring to have heard at 16. Hell, it would be reassuring to hear at 28.
Yeah, I suppose it was hard back then. That's one of the good things about social media. Like you really see more realistic images of women's bodies, which is great. Obviously it's a double-edged sword, social media, but it's kind of similar to us. Like back, myself and Emma have struggled with eating disorders as well. And back then when we were 16, 17, it was like be skinny.
It was
like
just
there was
before Kim K, so we just bloody missed the good time.
Definitely coming around, and we're becoming a lot more not only just accepting of different body types as well, but we're also becoming experiencing kind of a wider spread neutrality to our body type. So embracing the fact that as women, and it goes for men as well, but there's a higher percentage of women who identify with low body image and eating disorders, that we are just looking at our life and going, our body makes up one very small part of our life, one really minuscule part of our entire existence. So why spend so much time and energy trying to work and manipulate this one really small part of our life? Because when we're on our deathbed at 97 years of age and our boobs are down by our ankles, and our hair is falling out because we've bleached it so much, and we don't have any eyelashes because we've put on so much fake ones, our body isn't going to matter. It's not going to matter. So I'm coming around to this whole idea of body neutrality, and I'm just seeing my body, my existence, as so much more than just the sum of its appearance, and that's been incredibly empowering, incredibly liberating. It's been so freeing, being able to just let go and detach my feelings of worth and value from my body, from the way that I look. And I see more of that on social media. I still see, unfortunately, quite a toxic side of it as well, but I do think that it is balanced out, and that there are a lot more women in embracing what society once told them were imperfections, and we're starting to be kinder to those imperfections, which has been lovely.
Definitely,
Yeah. How did you transition from that space of just really hating your body into your current mindset? Because what you just explained there was so lovely, and just so like something that I think a lot of younger girls like need
or
to
even
hear
us,
and understand.
like,
Even us, even me, I still sometimes
definitely.
think, oh geez, stay me, like, oh, I've gained a few pounds over COVID, you know, like obsessed over it still. Definitely have grown, but how did you transition into that?
So I guess the point where I'm at now is that I'll look at my body and not like certain parts of it, but still love it anyway. So I look at my mum tum, and I have a really typical mum tum. I don't like the way that it looks, but I absolutely, can I say the word fuck?
Yeah.
I absolutely fucking adore and respect and love it, because it was my son's first home. So the point where I'm at now is that I don't like the way that each part of my body looks, but I respect and adore it because of the journey that I've been on. A couple of things that happened that helped me get to that point was, I guess, starting to recognize and respect all the things that my body can do. So shifting the focus away from how it looks to what it does and how it performs was pretty massive for me. So I used to do a lot of CrossFit. I used to compete in powerlifting. So back in the day, I was very, very, and it's all relative, and I'm still a strong, independent woman, but like I was really strong before Billy came along, squatting 145 kilos. I was deadlifting 170. And I would have moments of being under a really heavy weight, feeling like I was an Amazonian goddess. And it was because of what my body could do, specifically my legs. And I think we all have parts of our body that we struggle with the most. I really, really struggled with my legs. They were big, they were meaty, they were chunky. I just didn't like them. But the feeling that I got from squatting and lifting was incredible. The feeling that I got from being able to carry things in IKEA by myself, lift things off heavy shelves, it was amazing. So to answer your question, I started to ask myself what my body does on a daily basis that makes me feel grateful. And I really sat with that, and I asked myself, well, what would you rather, Sarah, to be really skinny or to lift really heavy things and feel like an Amazonian goddess? And like, it was really clear to me what I wanted. I wanted to feel strong so much more than I wanted to have skinny legs. And that was kind of a done deal for me. So I would do all my heavy squats, and I would find myself kind of whispering, I'm really sorry, legs, that I was such an asshole to you for so long. And I remember I had just given birth to Billy, and it must have been maybe 8 or 10 hours after he was born. And when I was 10 months pregnant, I looked like I was carrying triplets. So after I had given birth, I looked like I was only 9 months pregnant. And I remember looking at my tummy, and I had thought about this moment and what it would be like for so long. And I was so worried with my history that I'd look at my body and just feel anything other than love. I was so worried that I'd look at my body and feel, you know, disgust or embarrassment or come on, need to bounce back. I looked at my tummy and I just said, God, you're amazing. God, thank you. And it sounds strange, but I stroked my tummy and I took a photograph of it so that I'll always have this memory, because I was so scared of how I would feel about my body after I gave birth. I was so scared of what I would do to my body to bounce back. So looking at myself and my tummy and my son's first home after I gave birth, and the first thing that came to mind was thank you and I love you, and this is incredible that grew an 11.5 pound baby. Like I
Oh my
basically
God, that
gave
is
birth
incredible.
to a bowling ball.
Yeah.
So it was those things, but it was, I think I had the opportunity to experience that because I took enough time trying to nurture a positive relationship with my body by asking myself, okay, well, what is your body doing today that you're grateful for? And how can you show appreciation to your body? And, you know, Sarah, like, you're 35 now. You're not going to look the way you looked when you were 21. Get over it. And when you're 35 or when you're 60, you're going to wish that you enjoyed your body more than when you were 35. I wished that when I was like, I look back at photos now when I thought that I was really big and I go, Jesus, Sarah, like, you're actually, like, slightly, you were a lot smaller than what you thought at the time, Sarah.
Yeah.
And I just wish that I enjoyed my body more. So I don't want to be 60 looking back at where I am now going, Jesus, Sarah, I wish you enjoyed your body more.
Yeah, that's such a thing. I feel like that is always a thing. Like, you don't notice until you look back and you're like, if only I looked like that now. You're always like, I didn't appreciate it enough at the time. Yeah.
So let's not make that mistake, because the one thing that we are certain of is that we're going to age. And there's no two ways about it. And no matter how much Botox or filler or plastic surgery we elect to get, I believe in bodily autonomy, we're going to age.
Yeah.
So let's enjoy our bodies today. Let's enjoy them, show them off. You know, wear the short dress and wear the long sleeve top. Like, the amount of clients that I work with, simply to get them to a point where they'll expose their arms.
Yeah,
like,
arms are a big thing in especially Ireland.
Yeah, and it's let's live a life that when we are on our deathbed we can feel proud of, that we can feel let's just live a life that we won't have too many pockets of regret in. But it's tough. Body image is really tough, and it's not linear, and I still have bad body days, and the goal isn't to fall in love with your body, every portion of your body, and the goal isn't to experience nothing but joy and love for your body every day. It's always going to be a seesaw, and there's always going to be bad days, but it's how you respond to yourself when you're having those bad days that can really kind of make or break you, I guess.
Yeah. So how many weeks or months or years would you usually work with a client if you're coaching them?
Yeah, so if you
goals will never really end. Do you get me? Like, if it's body confidence, it kind of goes on for your whole life. You're always going to work on it.
Exactly. I guess if you asked me before COVID, I would have said generally I will work with clients between 4 to 6 sessions. So my goal is to empower my client with the knowledge, tools, and confidence that they need to coach themselves as they go forward. It would be like it'd be like going to a dentist and them only giving you half of a filling so that you have to come back to them in 6 months' time. So my goal is to empower my client and with everything that they need to continue to support themselves as they go forward. On average, it would have been 4 to 6 sessions, but now that in COVID, people are investing in themselves more. They need more support. So I'll
Yeah.
see clients anywhere between 4 and maybe 10 times
Okay.
at the moment. And depending on the client, it could be every week, every fortnight, or every month.
Yeah.
It really does vary. But it would be like, if you want like a real change, make an initial commitment of at least 4 sessions,
Yeah.
and then do the work in between. If
Okay.
you're going to go to the gym to get fitter, you're not just going to go to the gym once to see your personal trainer a week and then just hope that everything else will fall into
Yeah.
place. You need to
Yeah.
continue to go to the gym. So it's the exact same principle with the coach. You're going to see me for a session. We're going to come up with some homework that you can do the homework in between, and you're going to start to feel a change, but you need to make that commitment in between the sessions as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Have you seen much of a change in the way you work since COVID has hit?
Yeah, massive. Massive. And it's been really overwhelming because like, and it never occurred to me that I would ever say the words, we're living in a global pandemic. Like, I've watched the movie with the monkeys and the viruses and the zombies, and I just never thought that we would be living in that this would be our life.
Yeah.
But we're living in a global pandemic, and we're trying to work and parent and be in relationships as well. And it is overwhelming and stressful and scary and uncertain and incredibly challenging. So you're trying to work with someone who was already in a difficult place.
Yeah.
Throw isolation on top of that.
Yeah.
Throw working from home. Throw loneliness on top of that. Throw
Mhm.
fear and uncertainty on top of that. It can be a minefield. So
Yeah.
the biggest difference is that clients come to me and their world is smaller and they're more uncertain, and what they need to do the most is something that the most of us struggle with. Is they need compassion, they need self-compassion, they need kindness.
Yeah.
And it's something that we really struggle with. We can be kind and compassionate and supportive and upbeat and positive about everyone else. Strangers on the street, we will high five. But when we need kindness and compassion, we don't know how to give that to ourselves. We don't know how to do anything other than beat ourselves up after we've made a mistake.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest change that I'm trying to show my clients, is that for you to get out of this rut, beating yourself with that stick that you've been beating yourself with for the last 10 years, it's not working, and it's not going to work in a global pandemic.
Yeah.
So let's try to get clear on what that carrot looks like, and let's get comfortable using the carrot to motivate you instead.
What advice would you give to someone that needs compassion and self-love, or just anyone right now that's feeling a bit lonely and a bit crap in this lockdown?
I guess loneliness is a completely different kettle of fish, but if you felt like you have a pretty up close and personal relationship with that stick you've been beating yourself up with for a while, ask yourself if you would say this to your best friend.
Yeah.
And if the answer is no, then pause and reflect, and I can assure you that you, even though it feels like it, aren't different, and you won't respond any differently to the criticism and the judgment that you're used to. So if you're not going to say it to your best friend, then don't say it to yourself, and just start there.
Yeah.
We as human beings have the capacity to be so incredible. Like, I really believe in people. I really believe that we are at the heart of it just incredible entities capable of so much. But we just get in our own way, and we think that we're so special and that we're so unique that the judgment and the criticism will work for us. Well, it's not working for you, and I know that with every single client that comes my way, that it's not working for you. So we need the courage to practice compassion.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's not easy though, is it?
no, it's really, really hard, because you've been beating yourself up with that stick for a long time, and it's trying to uncondition, trying to unravel 25 years, 26 years, 27 years worth of conditioning. It's really difficult, but difficult doesn't mean impossible.
For
And
sure.
that's important.
Talk to us about your journal. I was looking at it earlier and it's so interesting. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so that's it's 2 years old. So it was an absolute labor of love. But when I was working with my clients, and when my clients left me, our time was over. I just felt like they needed something.
Yeah.
They didn't always need to work as closely with me, but they needed something.
Yeah.
And it was at the beginning of the journaling boom, because everywhere we go now we see diaries and journals, which is amazing, because it's a phenomenal
And
form
they're
of
so good. They make such a difference. Yeah.
You really do. But I didn't see a journal like what I wanted, which was, well, how can I get to know myself?
Yeah.
How can I learn how to be kind to myself, and how can I feel better about myself? So basically what I wanted to create was I guess a little coach that you could keep in your pocket, primarily for the purpose of helping you leave low self-esteem and insecurity behind. I wanted to show people that it was possible to be your own best friend. So that's a 12-week journal. Each page is a day that you commit 2 or 3 minutes to. You answer the questions. There's a few exercises in there as well, just to help people with kind of everyday roadblocks and difficulties that we might experience, like accepting a compliment and reframing a negative thought.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's a really cool journal. Like I self-published it as well, which was terrifying. Really, really terrifying. But no, it was amazing, and I'm really, really proud of what we were able to create.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, so it was, I was really proud of it. It's one of the kind of the highlights of my career.
Brilliant. Where are you selling it, or are you still?
I was selling it on Amazon, but because we're down to so few copies, I've just got them all here now. So they're just on my website, thebetterlifeproject.ie. Fantastic Christmas present.
I was just about to say, it'd be a lovely Christmas present to get.
Are you going to make more? Or what's the word? Are you going to publish more?
You know, I would love to. I would absolutely adore to. There's definitely a second edition in me. Like the 2 years went by so fast.
Yeah.
And I won't, unless I win the lotto, I won't self-publish again. It was like,
what does it mean?
I hired a book manager to do this because it was so complicated. I'm also dyslexic as well, so it was really overwhelming just trying to write it.
Yeah.
But the actual process of having your book on Amazon itself is a whole other job.
Oh God.
It's so expensive trying to store the books, trying to fulfill them. So if I'm approached by, not even approached, I've been approaching publishing houses to ask them if they want to take me on.
Yeah.
So if that happens, brilliant. If not, unless I win the lotto, it could be the end. We'll just see. I never say never.
Yeah, hopefully it will happen.
Yeah, it's huge. Like I do have my own little, like I've made my own little affirmation cards and confidence cards and things like that. And they're much easier to manage. Like they're just tiny little things. I can print those in a day. They're not an issue. The book was just, I really had no idea how much work would be involved in self-publishing. It's huge.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that either. I thought like,
I wouldn't know where
my naivety. I just thought like, write the book. There you go.
I had no idea either. No idea, but it's just that like Amazon is a beast, and it makes sense that it would be so difficult, but and it was definitely worthwhile, and I sold loads. Like if I'm pretty sure that my book manager told me that if I sold as many books in a bookstore as I did on Amazon, I would have been a bestseller. So that was really nice.
That's so nice. Yeah.
But yeah,
hopefully you'll be able to get into stores and stuff.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. It's a lovely little Christmas present for so shall we get into some of our scenarios now and get some get some
Yeah.
coaching, I guess.
We're gonna run out of time. The time is flying by.
Yeah,
It
literally.
really should.
So people were asking, a lot of people were saying that they were, so over COVID, obviously people have had time to reflect and kind of think to themselves, look at their lives and think, like, am I happy? Like, what am I doing, I guess?
Yeah.
And a lot of questions were around people weren't happy in their jobs. And I guess it makes sense, like when people are working from home, you don't have the office, you don't have your pals, you don't kind of have everything that makes your job fun.
Mhm.
You just have you and your job, I guess. So what would you say there to someone who, especially during COVID, you know, it's scary and hard to leave a job because, you know, obviously a lot of people have lost and are losing their jobs. So what would you say there?
Yeah, don't make a feeling when you're feeling toast, tired, overwhelmed, anxious, stressed, or triggered in any way. I've left a job before. It's terrifying. I'm
Yeah.
very lucky that it worked out as well for me, but I created a 15-month exit strategy that would support me transition from full-time employment to self-employment.
Yeah.
So I get how hard it is, but I think that, as I mentioned when I was nattering away about COVID, like the world that we're living in at the moment is completely unrecognizable, and our jobs were not going to, be unaffected
Yeah.
by this incredible change. And now I think it's important to say that I'm not a career coach. So within the coaching industry and space, we have career coaches, business coaches. I'm a life and executive coach. So I just think that's important just to say at this juncture. When it comes to making a decision to leave your job, I think it might be a bit daft to do so in the middle of a global pandemic unless you are in exceptional circumstances. But
Mhm.
I have a rule with myself and my clients: we don't make big decisions when we're feeling toast. And if your feelings have come about due to the global pandemic, how might you cultivate joy and happiness outside of your job until we can reach a point in our life in the world where we might be able to have a conversation around things going back to normal? That's really hard. We spend about 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week working,
Mhm.
but we also spend about 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week either sleeping, which gives us another 40 hours a week where we can play, where we
Yeah.
can have fun. So for those who are really struggling in their job, I totally get it. It sucks.
Mhm.
But if you can find it in you to press pause and cultivate joy and find joy outside of your job, I think that you'll benefit from it in the long run. So looking at hobbies and interests, and I know, Sarah, it's a global pandemic. It's not like we can join our local
Yeah.
ice skating rink. You're right, we can, but we can spend more time outdoors. We can spend more time reading. There are groups. We are going to start to, be able to, socialize more. So I think that will be my biggest piece of advice. If you've started to feel really down about your job because of COVID, just press pause, be patient, and try to kind of jazz up your life a little bit. I just sounded really old there, didn't I? Jazz up your life. I'm Sarah.
Yeah, jazz is such a mom word, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, wait until I say
Yeah.
change the record. Wait until I say change. You'll know. You'll know. Change. Just yeah. I've definitely just crossed the line there into. All right, Sarah. Just get my Zimmer frame as I exit the
Ah.
room. Just try to seek variety outside of your job, and find joy outside of our job. It's
Yeah.
really easy to blame our job for a lot.
Oh,
I've
definitely.
been
Yeah.
there, I've done it, I've
Yeah.
worked with clients, and they blame their job for 95% of their problems when,
Yeah.
a good chunk of the time it's actually because we're really unhappy in ourselves or in our
Yeah.
relationship. So just press pause, take it easy. You're
Mm.
not in a hurry. You're going to be working for the next 50 or 60 years.
Mhm.
Time. Take your time.
Yeah. Would you be able to go into a bit more detail on what steps you had to get from your full-time job to your
Yeah.
self-employed? Because I feel like a lot of people would probably love to do that, but don't know how to put a plan in place.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess the first thing that I did was ask myself how I respond to risk, and I don't respond to risk really well. I'm a bit of a scaredy cat, and I enjoy certainty. I enjoy predictability, financial security. Although if I was going to do anything differently, I would have saved more.
Yeah.
But anyway, I remember talking to a financial advisor once, and he goes, "Well, where is your money?" And I just looked at him and I said, "Well, I'm either wearing it, I ate it, I drank it, or I traveled." And he said, "Brilliant, fair play to you. You're in your 20s. It's what you should do." So that made me feel better about myself.
Oh, good.
I had no savings when I was starting up the business. So I qualified as a coach. I gained a lot of experience. And I created a strategy, what I called my exit strategy, that would support a transition from being full-time employed to being self-employed. And I would basically looked at key markers or milestones that would help me understand when I was ready to leave my job. So kind of psychologically ready, resilient enough to leave my job.
Yeah.
But almost more importantly, when my business was ready for me. So for a long time, the Better Life Project was just a side gig, a side project, a passion project. And I would work with clients during the weekdays. I would do my Facebook posts and my blogs over the weekends. And I guess I knew when I was ready to take the leap was because with every day I would get more and more scared of what would happen when I left my stable and secure job. What would people think of me? People didn't know what life coaching was. My dad still called my business the BLT. I was like, "Dad, my business isn't a sandwich. Where are we going with this? Change the record, Dad." So there were these key milestones and markers, and I knew when I was getting there. I knew I was getting there when my business needed me to work on it full time. So I was turning clients away. When I was, when my profile was becoming, getting stronger, and when I was becoming more known. So it's going to be personal to people. A lot of it was down to finances with me. I had to be earning enough money in order to be able to afford life outside of, I guess, afford just living. So I looked at my finances, a big one. I could have done it a lot better, but I looked at my finances and I looked at my bottom line and I said, well, how much money do I need to be earning every month in order to make this work? And I earned that for about 1 or 2 months, and then I just totally hit rock bottom, and I earned absolutely nothing, and I was getting no emails, and it was the most terrifying thing that I've ever gone through. But I learned that is such a normal part of being self-employed. Generally, what I've learned is that service. So my work is a service-based work. There's always going to be peaks and troughs. There's always going to be seasons where you're really busy and then you're really quiet. I didn't know that when I was starting off, so I got the fright of my life. So you're just identifying key milestones and markers to help you grow in resilience, but then also to understand, how much money that you need and all that sort of stuff. So it was, 2 parts practical, 1 part psychological. And I took my time, 15 months. It's a long time.
Yeah. But at least when you've got some sort of plan in place and you know that you're going to probably or hopefully get to do what you want to do, then I feel like your job will become a lot more bearable for those last few months.
What? It became so much more bearable. And there's actually a lot of research that reinforces this idea that if you aren't happy in your job, but if you have some sort of side project or hobby outside of it, they spoke about how it relieves a lot of the pressure in your full-time job, and how it just gives you more satisfaction and fulfillment, because sometimes we behave as if our job is supposed to give us everything in our life. It's supposed to give us joy and happiness and fulfillment. That's a huge amount of pressure to put on one job, one singular part of your existence. And when I set up the Better Life Project as a side gig, it took the pressure off my job. I had breathing room for the first time in a long time. And you know what else I did? I stopped caring so much. And that was huge for me because I cared about everything
Mm.
when I was working in Trinity. I cared about what people thought of me. I cared about what I said, just everything. And it was exhausting. And I just stopped caring so much. And it
Yeah.
was so free. So create a plan. Ask yourself, and this is where we get really practical. When you're creating your plan, ask yourself how much money that you need in order to be able to survive. Get to grips with the fact that you won't earn that every month as a self-employed person, but you can only go up if you continue to work.
Yeah.
Begin to appreciate that the work that you do now will only show up in 6 months' time. So the
Okay.
clients that I have now are because I did something 6 months ago, and I know that, and it's taken me
Yeah.
a long time, but I
That's
fully
really
appreciate
interesting.
that.
Yeah.
And then ask yourself, what would you benefit more from an emotional health or psychological perspective? Do you need to become more resilient? Chances are you do.
Yeah.
Do you need to become more confident? Chances are you do. Do you
Yeah.
need to be able to embrace failure, reframe failure? Chances are you do, more often than not. And then each individual has their own little nuances that they need to develop as well. But you need to be really expose yourself and really just get to grips with your flaws and your perceived inadequacies and create a plan to help you nurture them.
Mm-hmm.
I make it sound really easy, but I was an absolute mess for quite a long time, to be honest.
Yeah, I get you. It's easy. It all seems easy after it's happened, doesn't it? It's like
Yeah,
when you've
exactly.
been through it, it's fine.
Yeah.
You're right the other end. So we've got one here that's quite different, but I think it'll be a bit more up your kind of area. So
Mhm.
this girl says, I've always been overweight and really just can't get the motivation to change it. Would love to know how to motivate myself and to keep motivated. I feel like that is the hardest part for me anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a couple of things to that question. And then again, I think it is important to say that whilst I talk about body image, I'm not a body image expert.
Yeah.
And if that individual wanted to contact you, I could refer her on to someone if she felt like this was something that she wanted to be able to talk about more. I work with a really, really great kind of person.
Yeah.
So the thing that I would ask her the most is why? And I think when we're trying to motivate ourselves without realizing it, we can be hooked by really difficult and uncomfortable feelings. And we become motivated by fear and pain. So, quite often, when it comes to goals around weight loss,
Mm-hmm.
we make a decision that we want to lose weight because we don't like the way that we look,
Yeah.
because we hate the way that we look, because we're scared of something. It's called internalized fat phobia. So basically, society has ingrained in us over years that being fat is bad. So feeling fat and thinking that you're fat in today's age and society and culture is terrifying,
Yeah.
especially for young girls.
Yeah.
So trying to motivate yourself to take steps to change, it's scary. So you're not looking at motivating yourself every day. That's not going to happen. Motivation is a muscle, and every single muscle needs times to rest. But what you are looking at doing is asking yourself, well, what health promoting behaviors would you enjoy doing 4 or 5 times a week?
Mm-hmm.
So break the goal down and encourage a mindset that would look at embracing health promoting behaviors.
Okay.
So going outside and walking,
Yeah.
having a little bit more veg with your breakfast, a little bit more water at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So just the why behind it and the health promoting behaviors, I think, is a big one.
Yeah. Okay.
Brilliant. I suppose we only have about 5 minutes left. But just for kind of a final one, more of a general one. So goal setting. Let's talk
Mm-hmm.
about that. So myself included, I sometimes set like a ridiculous amount of goals.
Yeah.
And then for the first week, I'm like all over it, like thriving, doing a great job. And then I just kind of lose the motivation, just like, oh,
Yeah.
and then that cycle continues. 2 weeks lost motivation, and then the next week is like, okay, back on track, do it again,
Yeah.
and then fall off. 2 weeks flat. You know, it's like
Yeah. So the problem is even in the language. You're looking at your goal as a wagon that you need to jump on and stay on. But a natural course of any journey is that you'll hit a roadblock, you'll hit a bump, and you're going to get thrown off the wagon.
Mm-hmm.
So when it comes to goal setting, and I do goal setting and I love goal setting, and it's one of the interventions that I use the most with my clients, and it kind of links back into that weight loss question that you got as well.
Yeah.
How do you eat an elephant?
Not all of it at once.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One bite at a time.
Yeah.
But if I put an elephant right in front of you and said, eat this, you're going to get so overwhelmed by the bloody size of the elephant, you won't know where to start. And that's what we often do with goals. We take on way too much. We expect results yesterday. We think that it should feel really easy.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, then something is wrong with us.
Yeah, so true.
So when it comes to goal setting, for anyone who is struggling, ask yourself how you can break this goal down into smaller chunks.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're looking at one big goal over a 12-week block, how can you break that goal down into 3 smaller goals? So instead of looking at this one crazy goal that you need to achieve by this time next year, you're looking at this one manageable goal that you can achieve within a 12-week framework, and 3 smaller goals that when you break it up after you've achieved each of those, you know that you're moving in the right direction.
Mm-hmm.
So when we need to be able to hack our brain and hack our neuroscience a little bit, and when we're setting goals, we need to give our brain what it really needs in order to thrive, which is positive feedback.
Yeah.
Our brain responds really well to gold stars and high fives and hugs, and we get those when we do things well. So when you're setting a goal, start really, really small. Build yourself up for success. Celebrate every small win, no matter how small that you think it is. Celebrate it all. Track it. Use a planner, but work in really small steps. And for a period of time, imagine that you're working with an 8-year-old. And if you don't think that 8-year-old could do it, then don't embark on it.
Okay.
So start small. If you struggle with procrastination or overwhelm, start really, really small.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I love that advice. I'm going to benefit from all of that advice. Loved it. But I guess we'll finish up there. Thank you so much, Sarah, for coming on.
Pleasure.
It was great.
Yeah, we're thrilled
So
to have
inspiring.
Yeah.
And go and follow Sarah on Instagram at, what's your handle?
Sarah _ the Better Life Project. And guys, thank you for having me on the show. I really enjoyed it, and I'm really flattered that you asked. So thank you so much.
Oh, thank you so
for coming.
much. So, thank you so much for listening, guys. I hope you enjoyed this one.
Yeah, I hope you enjoyed, and go and follow Sarah on Instagram, and go and follow us on Instagram too, _girls_unfiltered_, and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.